Good evening. Tonight we dive straight into a transatlantic tug of war that's got everyone talking, stretching all the way from New Delhi to the heart of New York City. At the center of it is a packed diaspora gathering at Madison Square Garden featuring RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, part of the organization's global centenary milestones. On one side, you have New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani stepping up to voice sharp opposition, publicly slamming the event over what he calls an exclusionary political ideology. Naturally, Mamdani's stance has kicked up a massive storm of scrutiny. Critics are pointing out a glaring irony. Here is a mayor who fiercely champions absolute freedom of speech in the inclusive tapestry of a global city, yet he has preemptively raised a red flag over a community event based purely on political optics, and long before a single word has been uttered from that stage in New York. People are of course asking how a leader who values open dialogue can justify casting suspicion on a cultural meetup just because of differing ideologies. Adding fuel to this fire, of course, is a resurfaced video from 2020 at Times Square, where a protest was led by Mamdani himself. He stood by while anti-Hindu slurs allegedly echoed through the crowd. This history, of course, casts serious doubt on his sudden concern for inclusivity. Mamdani stood viewers at Times Square and led a protest in the USA over the demolition of the Babri Masjid in India's Uttar Pradesh. Surprising. When you contrast that background with what Mohan Bhagwat has actually been saying on record, he's repeatedly been emphasizing that India's true strength lies in its pluralism, that harmony does not require uniformity and that unity thrives alongside diversity. It becomes pretty obvious that the alarm bells that are being rung overseas are much ado about nothing. And this brings us to the ultimate question tonight. When leaders with a documented record of tolerating vitriol against Hindu faith and symbols suddenly rush to center and prejudge peaceful community gatherings, doesn't it completely expose the very hollow hypocrisy of modern progressive posturing by the likes of Mr. Mamdani? We take this conversation forward. I have with me on the broadcast Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee. Rashmi Samant will be joining us shortly, and Mr. Surinder Singh Lali, Foreign Affairs expert. We also have with us on the broadcast at this point in time Mr. Mohandas Pai, Chairman of Rant Capital, who joins us as well. Mr. Pai, thank you so much for speaking with NewsX. Sir, let me begin with you. I have to understand from you, why does Zohran Mamdani, sir, feel the need to jump into a private RSS event in New York?
Well, Zohran Mamdani is an ideologue, India hater, Hindu hater. He supported the Khalistanis, supported the Islamists. He supported the jihadi elements of the Islamists. And it's very clear what he did. You saw what he did during this election. You saw what he did to abuse people. He is a part of the leftist woke clique, which abuses India, which says the BJP and the RSS are taking India backwards. And he's part of this, Soros-led gang, which is against India, and they want a change of government. And so he's taking a stand. And they demonize the RSS. What have the RSS done to these people? They demonize the RSS, and they abuse the RSS day in and day out, because they think that there's a Hindu nationalistic party ruling India, which is rubbish. India has elected a government democratically as per the wishes of its people. We have a constitution which governs us. We are not an Islamist country like the many that he supports. And remember, his wife and his immediate family, they supported, they praised the killing in Israel and all that, right? He's anti-Jewish. He makes statements against the Jew. So he's a religious bigot. He calls himself a democratic socialist. You've seen all his disastrous policies for New York.
But Mr. Pai, this is where it gets a little tricky, because should we be responding to Mamdani? Should we be ignoring his comments, or do we need to be educating him on the RSS? And I say tricky because one doesn't know what to do in such a situation, because you also don't want to give him those headlines and the space in the news that he's perhaps looking for?
No, I don't think so. Which you see, these are people who are not going to change their opinions, which are very rigid. We should just learn to ignore them. I'm sure on social media and others, people are bashing him up, which is good. But I think we should just learn to ignore them. And they call themselves democratic, but they're not democratic. They're all fascists. Look, if you're a true democratic person, you accept the right of everybody to their views and respect the right. You will not try to cancel, you will not try to abolish, right? You're the one who said that he's not going to allow the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, coming to New York for the United Nations session. That's the international agreement to say that all governments or members of United Nations can easily come to New York for the UN Assembly. And he said, I will not allow him. If I come, I'll have him arrested. Then he said, I'll check up the law. The law doesn't allow me, and President Trump should do it. He made all these nonsensical statements, which is bad for New York because New York is the global city. So I think that is his mindset. It comes from his mother, right? His mother also has very extreme views about India. Remember, she made all those movies in which she used the names of people who are part of her epics as characters, and done it deliberately. They're part of that, Arundhati, uh, Arundhati Roy gang who take pride in abusing India,
Okay.
supporting extremists, supporting killers like the Maoists, etc. It's the same gang. So I think we should just ignore them and let him speak what he wants. Why should we give him greater respect?
Absolutely right. But at the same time, Mr. Pai, when Mamdani says that if it were in his power, he would cancel the event, what does that truly expose?
Yeah, it's hatred, open hatred. And the mayor of New York said, I will cancel the. Who the hell is he? I mean, he's the mayor of New York, that's fine. The people of New York are inviting Mohan Bhagwat. The citizens of New York are inviting. Is as per the law. They've taken a place on rental. Mohan Bhagwat is coming there to attend. I don't know what is his problem. How can he become a censor for the citizens of New York who want to listen to somebody, interact with somebody? So he believes he's behaving like the ruler of New York. He's not a ruler of New York. He's only the mayor of New York. And America is a free country. Citizens can call anybody they want. So you see his hatred, his support of jihadi elements, these extremist Islamists, is all well known. He covers it up by his demeanor, by smiling all the time, making some great statements. He made a statement, I was brought up in India, which is this and that. Of course, the same India that anybody was born in 40, 50 years, the same India we live in today. There's no change. And then we saw that idiotic person from Seattle, again, one more extremist, who made some silly statements, say, oh, Mamdani, my mayor, please ban this, don't allow them, and all. Can you see, they're all part of the same extremist gang.
Absolutely. But Mr. Pai, before I let you go, one last question, sir. It's also an opportunity then for the world, like I said, to know more about the RSS. In your assessment, what does the world really need to know about the RSS?
Look, why are we bothered about what the world needs to do? The RSS is a social organization in India which is celebrating its 100 years. It has gone through its ups and downs. It is recognized in India by the people of this country. It is widely respected. There are many people who hate it, many people who criticize it. They've been doing it. They've been creating fake narratives, not based on history against the RSS. The RSS continues on. Why should anybody try to tell the world what it is? The RSS will reach out to people. They will present themselves. If people have an interest, they will learn. Don't have an interest, why do you bother? I mean, look, we don't need certificates for India from anybody. I'm sure the RSS also doesn't need certificate from anybody as to what they are. What matters to them and to us is how are they regarded in this country. There are many people who regard them highly. There are a few people who abuse them and regard them poorly. There are a few people who hate them. This is all normal in a democracy, right?
Okay, absolutely. On that note, Mr. Pai, thank you so much for joining us. Let's quickly move on to our guests as well, Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee and Mr. Surinder Singh Lali with us on the broadcast. Ambassador Mukherjee, I have to understand from you, ma'am, your views on this whole debate that has started, because like I said, it does get tricky as to how much attention one really should be giving to it. I do, however, differ in the view that we don't need to speak to the world, or that we don't need to be in control of the narrative. I do personally believe that today we live in a world where information warfare is currently taking place. It's no longer something in the future. So we have to be in control of the narrative. Just from that perspective, Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, I want to understand from you, is there a way that New Delhi, or even the RSS for that matter, ma'am, should be dealing with some of these comments that are coming its way?
Thank you, Devika. I do agree with both Mr. Pai and you in the sense that giving too much importance would help him to get a public profile that he wants. Ignoring it would mean we lose control of the narrative. Let me put things in a perspective. First of all, Meera Nair is my classmate from Miranda House. I have known her for more than 40 years. Meera Nair condemned the emergency. Meera Nair was not left liberal when she was in Miranda House. She was a plain and simple person interested in academics and making movies. Meera Nair married a historian who is very well regarded, who condemned British imperialism in Africa. They produced one kid, this guy, who actually had a perfectly normal upbringing until he decided to become left liberal. What he needs to do, and I have met him as Mira's kid, very small he was at that time, is to educate himself on what the RSS stands for, on what the RSS has done for 100 years, why was it established, what the RSS did during the COVID pandemic for citizens of New York City and all over the US, and what Mohan Bhagwat ji, for whom I have the highest respect, said he about India and about the RSS. He said, the DNA of every Indian is the same. What does that mean? It means that the RSS accepts that if every Indian has the same DNA, it doesn't really matter what his views, his beliefs, his religion, etc. is. It's the same great 5,000 years culture and civilization. Mohan Bhagwat ji is going to be addressing Madison Square Garden. It's a private event in a country that believes in freedom and used to be the symbol of freedom and democracy. What he would say there, I presume, would be to reiterate, as he did here in the 100 years of the RSS celebration here in Vigyan Bhavan, which I attended, how the RSS came into existence, what the RSS did when we were colonized, what the RSS stands for, and the social values of the RSS, which are widely accepted globally, including in United States by the diaspora and, by the way, by several white Americans who believe that the RSS actually stands for a certain social cohesiveness, a kind of soft power, Devika, if I may put it that way, which actually is a counter to the constant harsh language emanating, for example, from Trump on one hand, but from Mamdani on the other, which is highly divisive. Mamdani, for instance, what is Mamdani's constitutional position? He is just the mayor of New York. He said earlier he won't allow Netanyahu to come to New York City. Then he acknowledged, but you know, as New York mayor, I don't have that power. Of course, he doesn't have the power. And of course, he is anti-Semitic and anti-Jew, like he is anti-Hindu, although he has to accept that he was born of a totally Hindu mother, long generation of unbroken Hindu marriages from the Nair side of his mother's family. I know that. I can tell you that. Secondly, who is he to stop a private event? If he had the audacity to say that he can stop Netanyahu from coming to New York City, he now has the audacity to say that Mohan Bhagwat ji does not have the right to address a private event at Madison Square Garden. So to answer your question, Devika, I agree with Mr. Pai that we should not give him too much of importance, but I agree with you 100% as a top media anchor, and I'm very proud of you, Devika.
Thank you, ma'am.
We can never lose the narrative. We must always understand that the West used to control the narrative all these years until Modi ji came to power. We must continue to hold the narrative and control the narrative because that is what makes the wheels work in the West and more here in India, as we've seen with Gen Z, etc. We must always control the narrative, but in a reasonable manner by explaining to people that people like Mamdani, who said there is not a single Hindu alive in Gujarat, is what he has said publicly. He has said the most atrociously wrong things about our Prime Minister. He has said the most horrible things about Hindus, conveniently forgetting that he was born from a Hindu mother who continues to be Hindu and she has not converted to Islam. So, Mamdani should set his own house in order. And by the way, in case you don't know Devika, but you must be knowing, he is married to a Syrian who ran away to escape Islamic tyranny in her home country. Where does that put Islam? He should ask himself that question. But I believe that the event will be a huge success. I'm sure we'll discuss it on NewsX. And I believe that he knows very well. He has no power at all, either to stop Netanyahu or to stop Mohan Bhagwatji. He's just doing all this to get some fake publicity, hoping that the next election, the American voters in New York City will be foolish enough to give him another term, which I very much doubt. Devika.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador Mukherjee, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Mr. Lali, bringing you into the conversation, your thoughts on this entire controversy, which to a large extent, Mr. Lali, does seem like it was the right moment for Zohran Mamdani to make certain comments. And of course, he has his vote bank in New York City to also sort of keep happy by making these sort of statements and saying that, oh, I'm against the RSS and what it stands for. I don't personally think Mr. Mamdani knows enough about the RSS or its work, or even what Mr. Bhagwat has been saying, as I mentioned in my opening as well, in the recent past. How much emphasis Mr. Bhagwat has put on revamping the image of the RSS, but also proving it through his words and hopefully hoping that it translates into action. So I have to understand from you then, can these sort of high profile international events at a Madison Square Garden fundamentally help reshape how certain Western capitals have been viewing the RSS and the sort of narrative that has been existing about the RSS for so long?
Thank you, Devika. Devika, my unsolicited advice to Zohran would be to maybe attend the local shakha, or if he has 3 days, maybe he can attend the Pratham Varg to understand what RSS stands for. The biggest NGO in the world, and the kind of work they're doing. So I think since he's not informed, and having lived in New York, Devika, New York is a melting pot. So Zohran was smart enough to first capitalize on the affordability crisis, in which Chris Cuomo actually gave him a cakewalk. And then on top of that, he seems to be towing that line of not only anti-Jew, and then, now anti-Westy white too. If you see a lot of his interactions with Donald Trump and the other party members, is that he is trying to make a cocktail of anti-Jew, anti-Hindu, and anti-Westy white, which is white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So there seems to be a clever strategy, and he knows. I mean, being a governor, he can't do more than what there's a verbal thing. He made so much of noise, maybe because that translated into votes about arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. That hasn't happened. Even about Bhagwatji, in the same press conference, he says that, oh, I'm going to look up, although it does not seem to be a state subject. I don't think one needs to be a rocket scientist to know that immigration is not a state subject. But he's simply making the right noises. And Devika, I see some similarity although I don't have any evidence to support it, between what the Pakistanis, the Bangladeshis, and what's happening in our subcontinent, which is to demonize Hindus. I mean, if you see, the agenda of a lot of these organizations where the deep state also gets involved is to rewrite history, to justify and create a narrative that they have been playing the Hindu victimhood card. And hence, you also see now it is even taken to the next level. It has gone to the next level by the Islamic NATO, where Pakistan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia are there. So I see a lot of similarity in between this organized effort in trying to corner India, trying to put India on the back foot, or trying to create a narrative where they want to not only defame India, but also try and demonize Hindus and have such nonsensical arguments which have no meaning. I mean, the way Zohran Mamdani, and Devika, the beauty of New York is that it's a melting pot. So there is somebody from every country, including his wife. So there are so many people, and he was smart enough to capture the imagination and create that into a vote bank for which he's struggling. Even his, socialistic kind of welfare state agenda is also being challenged in court. So I think it's a ludicrous effort on his part, and he's only looking for his 2 minutes of fame, where he's probably compelled by the campaign donors or by the deep state to, speak such nonsensical stuff, which is totally a misplaced argument. I mean, if anything, he has to understand that RSS promotes nationalism, discipline, self-reliance, and national pride. Now, which one of them is not making sense to me? I don't know.
Yes, but Mr. Lali, how can then, as we say, nationalist organizations or like the largest, RSS, the largest NGO of the world, how can they better communicate their grassroots work or their social service to really counter some of these very hostile narratives abroad? Because, of course, I'm sure there's good work that is being done by the RSS. And the reason why I keep bringing up this point is because of something that the Prime Minister said recently as well. We saw what happened in the protests in Delhi, where it became abundantly obvious that in the next now decades to come, people have to be very active on social media. You have to make that effort to let people know what is it that you're up to, because otherwise there will always be someone who's speaking against you and building that narrative. You have to continuously counter. While that is applicable from the government's perspective to the Prime Minister and to the cabinet ministers, I think everyone can pick up a little bit of learning from what's happened. So I just want to understand from you, how is it that an RSS can really revamp itself and utilize some of the means that they have to better communicate the work that they're doing on the ground? Because quite honestly, if you were to ask me today, what is it that the RSS does, I don't think I would explicitly be able to list down the social service that RSS has done. I'll be very honest about that. I don't know exactly. I can't give you exact examples. I may know a little bit off the top of my head, but that's also because of the, because I'm in media. So I'm expected to know these things. But I'm talking about anybody out there does not know.
I think you've made a very valid point, Devika, because RSS is a very reticent kind of an organization. And even if you see, you rarely see somebody from RSS having an identity card. I mean, they don't issue such cards because their entire objective agenda is Swayamsevak. You are working for yourself. You change a part of you and the world changes. But yes, somewhere you have a point, especially after the last Jantar Mantar episode, that somewhere with the changing times and the Gen Zs, the kind of power they are getting, and a lot of them to me are headless chickens running around, but since they have the power, so I think somewhere this is for RSS to consider how, they need to counter some of this false narrative, because sometimes not countering is, it amounts to deemed acceptance. So yes, you're absolutely right. And from what I've understood of RSS since 1925 is, they've always said that it is our work that is going to speak. But, now things are different. Now everybody carries a very lethal weapon in their hand, which is the mobile phone. And anybody, for reasons best known to them, can create a group and create a narrative. And this little phone has,
He's
which
not
part
the
of the
governor,
world.
he's the mayor. Governor nahi hai. He's the mayor.
Sorry, he's the mayor.
Yes, the mayor
so
of...
being a mayor, I understand that, and even within the Democratic Party, I mean, he's actually Donald Trump's dream come true. Him and the other gentleman called the gentleman from Michigan, El Sayad. These are people who are actually helping Donald Trump polarize America and say that do you want an Islamic America? Do you want the way, these people who defected from their countries came to America and now are wanting to create the same atmosphere and the values for which they defected. So if anything, they are helping Donald Trump polarize even America more, because some of the values they stand for will not be acceptable. And one last thing is that, Mamdani is in very limited space. America is huge. I mean, in the Midwest and the Rust Belt states, they don't even know. They don't even know what part of the world he's from. So he's creating these wrong noises only as a part of a small constituency from where he probably got funded.
Okay, all right. Ambassador Mukherjee, last word to you, ma'am.
Just wanted to supplement what my dear friend Surinderji said, which is that Mamdani, first of all, believes in false narratives. It's not a question of controlling the narrative. His narrative is completely false. Now, I wanted to correct myself. He had said there are no Muslims left in Gujarat, not Hindus. No Muslims left in Gujarat. He said it publicly. It's there. He has to understand that the RSS has youth support globally. RSS actually has changed its strategy from the way Surinderji has said. It is now much less reticent. It has a lot of women. It talks much more candidly under the leadership of Mohan Bhagwatji about what it stands for. And when I attended their 100-year anniversary here in Vigyan Bhavan, which also had interaction of foreign ambassadors who came, they were invited, they spent an hour. I was absolutely amazed at the supportive comments they made, the questions they asked, their desire to interact. Because the RSS stands for selfless service to the nation. And those who are at their top leadership, like Mohan Bhagwatji, they have given up everything, every home comfort, their family lives, everything for service to the community and to the nation. This is something, Devika, which we need to also say on their behalf. If they are not able to say it enough, then those of us who know what they are doing, we have a duty to inform. And I'm sure Madison Square Garden will give an appropriate opportunity for Mohan Bhagwatji to say so beautifully.
Yes,
not
absolutely.
That every DNA of every Indian is the same, but he also said, we are not going to look for a shivling under every mosque. That is over. We have the Ram Mandir and we cannot change history. That again is very pragmatic. That again needs courage to say, this is a leader of a social organization who wants to keep India together, not divided. RSS stands for unity of India, not divisiveness. Unlike this Mamdani, who actually symbolizes divisive dialogue, and that's not going to work for him for a second term.
Absolutely.
I'm not American, but I'm sure of it, Devika.
Yes, Mr. Bhagwat is also on record. Mr. Ghai, I'm sorry, I've completely run out of time. 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay. RSS, three things I've understood. Bharat ke bano, Bharat ko jano, and Bharat ko mano. Thank you, Devika.
All right. On that note, I thank both of our guests for joining us on the broadcast to take this conversation forward.